Can you talk about the time where you were under a love spell, please? Yes, I can. Here we go.
This woman watched my page for 2 months, put separation spells on me and my spouse. Back then, we was just getting together, really didn't know much about each other, so our foundation wasn't that strong. This woman took my picture off of social media, put spells on me, relentlessly, genuinely convinced herself that I was hers. Didn't matter that I did not belong to her. In her head, I was hers. And in magic, belief and intent is everything. So being delusional is important. And delusion, baby had plenty of that. I didn't realize she was putting witchcraft on me until about 6 months in. So anything before that, I was lost and confused and still kind of playing in my head like, did that just happen? Is that what it is? Because she was real good at playing stuff off, making it seem like I'm crazy. And if I already feel crazy and you making me feel crazy, then naturally I'm going to think I'm crazy. This woman was writing sigils on me every time we had sex, placing sigils on my back, placing sigils on my chest, the palms of my hand, behind my ears, on my forehead. So it got to a point to where I started to question things. I stopped trying to have sex with her, started trying to fast. She wasn't having that. Started trying to pull out. She wasn't having that. She wanted to have sex and she wanted me to come in her every time. She wanted whatever that would keep that connection deep and ongoing. She was a high-ranking entity, and truthfully, I'm a high-ranking spiritual being myself. So whenever me and this woman had sex, homie, I could feel the different portals opening up around me. It's almost like the moment she slid down on it, we would leave this realm and go to another one. Me and this woman would have sex for hours. I'm talking 3, 4, 5 hours straight. Lose track of time. And a lot of times I would often forget where I was. A lot of times where I felt like I was out of my body. Another thing about this woman, homie, she never did anything without permission. She always would stand at the door until I invited her in. Now, these are all common things, homie. It's natural for us to say, come on in. Go ahead, have a seat. You don't really think that you're coming into agreement with the spirit by saying these everyday things. But that's exactly what it was. Now, I already know a lot of y'all gonna get in the comments and say what you would have done, what I should have done. But the truth is, you don't know what the hell you would have done. It's all fun and games until that demon standing right there in front of you. This woman was very smooth with her tongue. Real good at making you feel crazy. Real good at making you second guess yourself. So it did take me a while to catch on to her tactics. But I did in the end. A lot of y'all may also think that because she had such a strong hold on me, it was because I was weak in faith or I wasn't grounded or something like that. Baby, the devil can torment anybody. Job stood on business, and he was still tormented by the devil. So don't ever think that you're too good to be touched by the devil. Sometimes God allows us to go through things because that same thing that breaks us for the moment will be the same thing that he uses to have us minister to people. So a few years ago, this same thing had me suicidal. But here I am today behind this screen ministering to you. There's somebody right now going through the exact same thing I went through, and they don't know how to get out of it. They don't even believe what's going on. But when they hear me speak on these things, they can relate to them, and it make a whole lot of sense when I say it. That's why God allows certain things. That's what it is to be chosen. You get hand-picked for spiritual warfare, and you are required to be stronger than everybody else. You can't call yourself a warrior for Christ if you ain't never been to war. A lot of y'all in these comments, homie, in my inbox talking about this and that. You ain't no real man of God. How you gonna be a man of God and you cursing the man? Be quiet. Y'all ain't been to war for real. Y'all ain't never had the devil at your front doorstep. A lot of y'all ain't even ever seen nobody possessed before. I grew up watching people get demons called out of them. Y'all saw it on TV. I lived through that. This low vibrational entity, when she came into my life, infestation followed her. Bad luck followed her. My bedroom was infested with bed bugs. Her period came on during sex. She bled all over me, bled in my bed, on my floor. She had marked up my walls. Big handprints with blood on my walls, on my light switches. And nah, she didn't clean it up. She meant to leave it there. She also pissed on my floor. Marked her territory the way animals do. This sounds like something that you would hear out of a freaking movie, homie. But I lived through it. I would catch this woman in lies, hold her accountable, curse her out, tell her I'm done with you, little mama. I leave her alone. She goes straight to her ancestors, straight doing candle magic, straight to love magic, trying to manifest me back. Talk about a way to misuse your gifts. So every week out of the month, this thing would manifest in her, and it would come to the forefront. And whenever this happened, she would warn me and she would try to stay away from me. But I ain't gonna lie, I wanted to meet this thing. I wanted to know what I was dealing with. So I convinced her to come over while this thing was manifested. I met this thing. Baby, when I tell you this thing was pure hate. She sat in my living room and her eyes were pitch black. And I remember looking at this thing sitting in my couch in my living room. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I was scared. I ain't scared of demons. But in that particular moment, I was scared. This thing looked at me like it honestly wanted to devour me. The eyes of it followed me around the room like it was stalking me. And you could feel this demonic presence in the air. When she left, I remember sitting on my couch and begging God to get me out of this. I knew that he was taking me through it to teach me something, but that don't mean that I wanted to go through it. Job knew that God still loved him while he was letting the devil torment him, but that don't mean Job wanted to go through it. When you are chosen, you are marked for betrayal. You are marked for heartache. You are marked for doggone warfare. And your life ain't easy. Honestly, wouldn't even notice her if you was near her. She was quiet, just a petite, little quiet, pretty girl. It's crazy that she can conjure up and manifest so many dark entities when she had social anxiety. She used to get choked up talking to me all the time because she said I made her nervous. But the thing is, she was so used to being around entities and not people that she felt comfortable around dark entities and anxious around people. She grew up in that, got raped in multiple foster homes, father in prison, mama dead, grandmama raised her and taught her witchcraft. With all that trauma and that dark, twisted family history, this woman was the perfect vessel for a dark entity to house. You see, when I met this woman, she told me that she was obsessed with me. And of course, I never thought anything of it. I thought that was just her way of exaggerating how she felt about me. Nah, that wasn't the case. She wasn't lying to me at all. You see, the thing with a succubus is a sex spirit. So when it came down to sex or physical intimacy, she was top tier. Am I bragging on that? No. Was it something that I would do again if I had the chance? No. But I'm being honest. It's like she was made for sex. She had the softest skin, a Coke bottle shape. Didn't matter if she was outside all day. When she pulled them panties down, I never smelled anything on her. Never. Didn't matter what position I put in or however I folded up. Whenever I gave her that pressure, she took every inch of me. It never ran. Maintained eye contact as she followed instructions well. Her snapper was sloppy wet every time. Mouth sloppy wet. I would often see different spirits standing in the corner of the room we was in while we was having sex. Many times she would stop and say she felt something walk into the room while we having sex. There was times where her spirit spouse attacked me after sex. There was times where her spirit spouse interrupted me and her during sex.
With another spooky story. And this one is a love spell gone wrong. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Mary. So she said she was in love with him the first time she saw him. She tried talking to him and getting close to him. However, he was not feeling her. He kept rejecting her. She didn't like that he was ignoring her and that he wasn't feeling her. So she just moved on with her life and just tried to forget about the guy. At this point, it's been a couple of months and she still has not managed to forget about the guy. So she decided that she's gonna hit him up and try to shoot her shot one more time. One theme that you will find in this story is that Mary is extremely persistent. So she hits him up again, and this time he actually gives her a chance. So they started talking and seeing each other, and pretty much their meetup started getting sexual. Red flag. Things wind up progressing between them, and he winds up taking her V card. She says she loved him and trusted him and wanted to be with him so much that she willingly gave him her innocence. So they kept talking and seeing each other until 3 months later. 3 months later, she chilling and she randomly gets a text from him And the text said, "Get the fuck out of here. Stop texting me." Bro. And Mary, being hurt and confused, she tries to text him, blowing up his phone, calling him, and he's not answering. And her being hard-headed, she didn't want to leave him alone. She wound up doing some stalking, and she figures out that he got back together with his ex at that point. And by the time she figures this out, he had already blocked her on everything. So she tries to move on again, but this time it was much harder, considering he took her V-card and she loved him a lot. She said she used to buy him clothes, food, anything you can name to keep this man happy. Well, this boy. So boom, one day she is tired of being hurt and she's still persistent on getting back together with that boy. So she decided to do a love spell on him. Now, she says that she's Arab and she believes in voodoo and dark magic and all that stuff. So she found a guy that did love spells and voodoo online, called him and explained everything to him. And he told her that he can fix it and make him love her again, all for a price of $300 US. $300. $300 to get a man to fall in love with you. Wild. So she transferred him the money and he got to work. And Mary too was fast at work, because during this time she was making new accounts to stalk that boy. She used to text him from these new accounts and he used to block her every single time. But she couldn't get the hint, so she would just keep going. So the voodoo guy would FaceTime her while he was in the cemetery doing rituals. This voodoo priest guy had his picture and her picture printed at the cemetery doing rituals. He used to send her videos of dolls and other kinds of rituals at the time. Even the voodoo priest guy told Mary to stop texting that boy. Let him work and give the spell some time to work for itself. He explicitly told her to stop texting that boy, and Mary did not listen. A week later, the voodoo priest FaceTimes her and he starts doing more chanting rituals. So he told her he was going to do the final ritual, which was going to tie the whole love spell thing together. So she got tired out of nowhere and decided to take a nap. She doesn't know if this is a dream or this is real. But at the time, her window was open and the closet was also cracked open. As she's sleeping, she starts to feel this heavy cold wind coming from the window. And she saw something peeking from the closet like a creepy creature. And she was so freaked out and she tried to get up, but she couldn't. Then she starts to feel her body floating up as if something was taking possession of her. And she is watching all of this happen to herself like an outer body experience. And she is, needless to say, confused and scared. And suddenly she wakes up. It's all over. The voodoo priest texts her and told her that the rituals were done. He told her, do not text the boy under any circumstances. Give it time, he will come to you. So she waited, and after a couple of days, she got tired of waiting. She just really wanted to talk to him. So she broke the rule and texted him. And this time, he hated her. After the voodoo guy, she just got progressively more obsessed with the boy. At this point, she is a full-on crazy ex. She got into fights with him, like physical fights. His mom, his ex, she literally found people that were close to him and fought them. Her mental health was so fucked up by that point that she even thought about getting him tattooed on her. That's how crazy she was about him. So after a couple of months of this going on, it's like fights after fights every single day. Her mom noticed something really wrong and decided to send her away to go live with her brother. Like, you're wildin'. And her brother, mind you, lived in a different country. She cried and feels crazy about him, but ultimately she had to leave. While she was away, she decided to get herself together by praying and asking God for forgiveness. She asked God to remove whatever spell that she must be under, and she really did try to move on. Well, after 7 months of working on herself and praying and cleansing her energy, she was better than before and ready to come back home. She says it's been 1 to 2 years since all this happened. Until this day, she still thinks about him. She misses him still and loves him deep down. She says she doesn't know what went wrong with the rituals or spells, and that's her story. She says till this day, they talk sometimes. This time he says he does not hate her and he is okay with her being around as long as she's not acting crazy and obsessed again. So yup, love spell backfired. Stop doing love spells on people. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching. If this is your first time seeing my face, make sure you follow me on TikTok. If you're looking for better, longer, spooky stories, you better go over on my YouTube channel. The link is on my bio. There's a link tree there. If you really do fuck with me, make sure you follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. I wanted to do a story from Nigeria, but nobody submitted a story from Nigeria. When you're submitting a story, please be sure to let me know where you're submitting your story from. Again, we're still going to Nigeria. If you're from Nigeria and you got a spooky story, make sure you send it it to me. I love you, my abducted humans, from your favorite Haitian homegirl.
These are the consequences of doing a love spell on a person. I came across the story on here. It was actually in Spanish, so I'm gonna go ahead and translate it to English, and I'll tag the original creator down here. So Gloria has been practicing witchcraft for the past 5 years, so much so that she has become very well known around her neighborhood, and she has a ton of clients. One day she was having a birthday party at her house, so she invited a bunch of her friends and a bunch of like her close neighbors. When she sees a girl that she didn't recognize enter her home, she assumed that this was probably one of her friends who had invited another friend. The girl goes up to her, introduces herself as Peggy, and tells Gloria that she needs her help, that she has fallen madly in love with this man that wants absolutely nothing to do with her. Gloria advised her against it and told her about all the consequences that come from love spells, that you can't mess with someone's free will. Peggy said that she didn't care, that whatever the consequences were, that she was willing to deal with it. The next day, Peggy went to Gloria's house and Peggy handed her a jar. In this jar, there was this white powder. Peggy told her to take a very small amount out of the jar and to add it to one of his alcoholic drinks. And to also do it on a Friday, because apparently Fridays are the most strongest days to do this stuff. That Friday, Peggy ended up having a huge party at her house where she invited just about everyone, including the boy and Gloria. As the party was going, everybody was dancing, singing, having a great time. Peggy starts getting a bunch of drinks ready for her friends. Gloria notices that Peggy takes one of the drinks and puts it to the side. She then opens the jar that she had in her pocket and she dumps all of the powder in the drink. Gloria right away runs over to Peggy and tells her, "That is too much. I told you to only give him a small amount. You have no idea the consequences that this is gonna create." Peggy then snaps at Gloria and tells her to mind her business, that this had nothing to do with her, that she already paid her for her work, and that whatever happens now, to just back off. Gloria pretty much wiped her hands clean and left it at that. The minute this guy took a sip of the drink, it was almost out of a movie scene. He became completely head over heels in love with Peggy and could not keep his hands off of her. The whole night they were just making out and all over each other. A few weeks go by and Peggy gives Gloria a call and tells her, "Hey, what you gave me worked amazing, but I no longer want to be with him. He has become way too obsessive, very toxico, to the point that he's even jealous of my own brothers. I wanted him, but not like this. I no longer want to be with him." Gloria told her there's nothing that she can do about it, that when she tried to interfere, that she had told her to mind her business, so that's exactly what she was gonna do. Weeks go by and Gloria ends up receiving news that literally chilled her to the bone. Apparently, Peggy had broken up with the guy, and when she did so, the guy became so insane that he drove his bike right off of a bridge, unaliving himself. All because of that spell. A month later, Peggy calls her terrified, crying her heart out, begging Gloria for help. She told her that after the boy had passed away, that she continues to see him in the home, that he wakes her up at night, that she hears his voice, that he still is around at all times, that even after he passed away, he continues to be obsessed over her, even after death.